before you pick a venue for your event, there are certain things you need to look out for. And then today I'm going to be talking about 5 things you need to look out for, considering the type of event you're going to have, or you're hosting, the category of people that are going to be attending, and so many other factors that you need to consider. So I'm just going to go straight into it. And then the first thing we're looking at is the location. Yes, it seems to be like location. Yeah, just pick now. I want it on the mainland. I want it on the island. If you're in Lagos, why is this acting this way? Sorry, I don't know why it's acting this way. So, number one thing to consider is the location for your event. And then it may seem as though, location, I know I have to consider location, but then there are a lot of things you need to consider at that location. Take, for example, okay, first you need to decide, is my event going to be on the mainland, or is it going to be on the island? Is it going to be out of state? Depending, all these things you consider depending on the nature of the event, the type of guests we are hosting, where most of the guests are actually concentrated in terms of maybe they live there or they work there. You have to consider that. And then when you've now decided that, okay, I want my event to be, for example, on the island, you now need to look at, okay, fine, I've chosen a particular location. But then all you're sampling or you're inspecting in this particular location, there are other things to now consider. One, are the roads motorable? So if, for example, for a wedding, your client has said, or the bride has said, I'm going to be using a limousine, you have to look at, is that road good? Is it good enough for a limousine? Those are part of the things you need to consider when you're picking a venue. People that are going to be driving in, is the road motorable? Will they get to? Is the location safe? Is the beginning of the street, for example, if the venue, it's in the middle of the road, in the middle of the street. When they enter the street, what's the first impression that comes to mind? Is it like, this is nice, or they just feel like, okay, this is just like a normal road, and then I know that where I'm going to is off this road, or it's somewhere on this road? Those are part of things you need to consider for the location before you actually say, yes, I'm going to book this venue. No matter how fantastic a venue is, you're not looking at, it's not isolated. Because if, for example, the venue is in a location where it's always waterlogged, and then you're having an event at the peak period where we have a lot of rain, it means that street is very likely to be waterlogged and people cannot access the venue. Because I'm getting into the street, I'm worried, I'm scared for my car, and all of that. You need to put that into consideration. So that is what I'm going to say on the venue. The second thing we're going to look at is the size of the hall. Many times I've had people say, okay, I have a wedding, or it's a corporate event, it's an AGM, and we're looking to have maybe 200 guests, we're looking to have 500 guests, we're looking to have 1,000 guests. And then sometimes they book the venue, and then the venue they booked, you're looking at it that, this is not, it's not suitable for your number of guests. So you have to look at the size of the event, of the venue, vis-a-vis the number of guests you're expecting to host. And then it's not just about, they said the hall is a 1,000 capacity. You have to ask, okay, 1,000 seating capacity, in what arrangement? Are we looking at banquet setting? Are we looking at theater setting? Are we looking at classroom settings? All of that you need to consider, or you need to ask when you talk about the size. So for example, if you say, it's 1,000 setting banquet, it take 1,000 people banquet setting, I say, okay, fine, I'm expecting 1,000 guests. You have to now consider, okay, if I'm expecting 1,000 guests, there's a likelihood that, number one, this 1,000 guests would expand maybe 1,000 guests will now mean 1,200 guests. It means that you've not made arrangements for the extra 200 guests where they're going to stay, because if the maximum seating capacity is 1,000, it means that you cannot put more than 1,000 people inside that hall. Not just about their comfort, but also their safety. Safety rules will not allow you exceed the capacity of the hall, because if you put more than 1,000 people in that hall, it means that you're endangering the lives of everybody, which you don't want for your event. So you need to consider the size. I would advise that if you have, just to book a hall or to book a venue, get a hall or get a venue that is bigger than the number of guests you're expecting, because you also need to consider a lot of things. So you're going to put, for a wedding, you probably put a dance floor, you want to put a walkway. How large is the walkway? How large a walkway do you want? You're going to have to fit in the band, you're going to have to put the DJ and many other vendors that you need to consider. So it means that all of them are going to be taken from that space, which you need to consider when inspecting a venue. The third thing we're going to talk about is the type of venue. I know a lot of times people just say, no, I've gotten a hall. I like it. The place it's in a good location. It's not traffic prone, or we have particular times where we have traffic and my event is going to be at a time where I expect that traffic will be less and all of that. It seems like a great venue. And then you've not considered what type of venue you have. So you have to look at the fact that, is it a hall? Is it a building? So structured building or made with bricks, or is it a marquee? Because the dynamics of both of them differs. For example, if for that event you want to have a lot of ceiling installations, you have to consider, have it at the point where you're expecting. Is this venue adapted for that purpose? Can I use this venue for that purpose? If you want to have props from beneath the ground, is this venue suited for that purpose? Because it's not a situation that after you book the venue and then you're thinking about these other things that you want and that are very important to you, and then you're like, I didn't know, I would have booked another one, or I would have considered other options and things like that. It's important that you you consider the type of venue vis-a-vis the type of ambience you want to create or you would love before you then book this venue. And then the fourth one, I'm jumping. Yes, you have to look at the amenities. What kind of amenities do they have? So you look at typically, of course, they should have restrooms. So you look at, what type of restrooms do they have? What number of restrooms do they have? How many people at a time can use that restroom? Are they functional? What's the water condition like? Or do they always have water? Or during the event with of course, you know that sometimes some event centers will say, yes, before the beginning of your event so some event centers will say at the beginning of the event they're going to pump water for you, and then you have water all through. So you need to ask them, fine, you're going to pump water at the beginning of the event. Most likely this water won't last till the end of the event, because if you have a lot of guests using the restroom, it means that they need to be constant pumping of the water. So you won't have a break where water is exhausted in the tank and then you say, no, you need to pump water now, and then that break. We don't want a situation where our guests cannot feel comfortable using the restroom at any point in time. We also need to ask, so they have a generator? Yes. Do they have a backup generator? How regularly do they service these generators? Those are things you need to ask. Do they have a dedicated vendors area, or they don't? Do they have a changing room? Does it mean that also maybe you have grills? Is there a place for them to for the grills vendors to grill? Of course, because all of this, there are certain things, they're not like, it's not the same thing. It's not the same amenities they all need. They need different facilities. So the places are usually adapted for example, if I grill a lot, if I have a dedicated grilling area, it means that that place needs to be open. It means that smoke needs to evaporate quickly. There needs to, so that the place is not always hot. Because if you put a grill person and then your food beside that, it definitely won't work. So you have to consider all of these things when you're booking your all, or you're inspecting your all. And then finally, I'm going to talk about, so this is actually not an exhaustive, this is not the only things you need to consider. There are a lot of things you also need to consider, but I'm going to be talking about these 5. So if you have maybe further questions, you can just send me comment below, or you send me a direct message. I'll be happy to respond to that. So the 5th thing you need to consider is reviews. So reviews can be in different forms. You can have online reviews, and then you can also have offline reviews. And we know that with the advent of Google Maps, of course, Google Maps helps you a lot. So you can you can search for the venue, and then you go to reviews. Under reviews is look at a lot of things. And then you don't just look at, oh, it was good. You look at the reviews. Once you look at the reviews, you also look at the type of reviews. Because there are some times where you see, oh, this company or this event center, they have 5 stars, and then you read the comments, and then somebody saying, oh yes, the comments are good, but then there's a particular sentence or of maybe the place was hot. Fine, when you see the place was hot, it doesn't necessarily mean that the place, it's not a good facility. It means that you need to consider, okay, so why was the place hot? For example, I've seen reviews online, they say, oh, that place is small. If the place is small, you then need to consider, okay, fine, it's not a case of, oh, because it's small, I'm going to rule it out. No, that place was crowded. If it was crowded, it's probably not the fault of the event center, it's probably the fault of the host. Because if I said, oh, my hall would take 400 guests maximum, and then you happen to have 450, 500 guests, it means that the host is trying to make space, extra arrangement to fit in the extra 50 to 100 people, which of course will be crowded. And as a guest, I would definitely say, oh, this place was actually crowded. So you have to sift the reviews. And then apart from online reviews, you can also have offline reviews. So for example, you can say, oh, when you go to inspect, which event planner have used this all before, or you just check online, see where other places that the name of the event comes up, and you can just send them a message, sorry, I'm trying to book this, or I'm considering this event center for my event, what do you think? And then they can give you first-hand experience on, oh yes, when I used it 3 months ago, and this was my experience with them. The management is good, the water is good, they are quick to respond to resolving issues, or they're not quick to resolving issues. At the car park, they have touts or they don't have touts, and all of that you need to consider before you book a venue. So I hope this helps. I hope, let me know. I know that most of us have not been commenting, which is not nice. I don't like it. I like feedback. So please let me know if this helps you in any way. So you can feel free to contact us. We can talk about your events. We have a very open company, and I would like to hear from you. So please subscribe to this channel. Also remember to click the bell button so you get notified whenever we post a new video. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and then follow us on Twitter. Till I see you next week. Have a wonderful week. No, before I see you next week, make sure that you send me a message. You can comment below on this video if you like it, or if you learned something, or if you have other suggestions on the aspects of events or things to consider before booking events.